Welcome to Junkyard Theory, folks. Every single time we do one of these episodes, I am blown away by the guest in the studio, and today is no different. I've got somebody who is instantly recognizable, and if you've been watching TV for the last 20, more than 20 or 30 years, or close to 30 years, you've seen this face, you heard her laugh, you've definitely heard her catchphrase. I am so thrilled to have Maggie Wheeler in the house. Maggie, thank you so much for joining us. Hi, ma'am.
Hi, everyone.
It's amazing to have you here. I've only recently gotten on to watching Friends. I'm late. I know. I started watching it at the behest
Better
of my
late than
girlfriend.
never.
Better late than never. Definitely better late than never. And your character, Janice, stood out the moment she landed on the show from the very first time you appeared. We had Larry Hankin on the show, and it's on the episode I think where he passes away, and then Chandler doesn't want to end up alone. And he kind of gets back together with him. Like, oh, where is this going?
So hilarious.
That it was. Maggie, just talk to me a bit about, I want to get into Friends, but talk to me about your origin story. How'd you get into show business?
Oh, my goodness. I think that from the time that I was very little, I really loved to make people laugh, and my family in particular. And, I would sort of leave the room and come back as somebody that we knew. I loved mimicking voices and just, being silly. So I think that from the time that I was very young, I appreciated that kind of intake of what happens when you are entertaining people and making people laugh. And I was always a creative kid and a dreamer, and somebody who really reveled in my own imagination. So it was sort of a natural fit that I would want to perform, that I would want to collaborate with other people, and basically join the circus. And so I started at a very young age looking for opportunities to do that. And eventually I went to summer stock in Massachusetts at Mount Holyoke College, and I worked as an apprentice and, sewing theater curtains and selling tickets. But then I got to be in a couple of shows, and, it was like that. And I took many, many classes and worked with wonderful teachers, and spent a summer at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. And there I met an incredible teacher, recipient of the MacArthur Genius Grant, Anna DeVera Smith, who became my teacher. And so it's been a wonderful, winding, creative journey. Of course, the goal always being, please, God, let me have a real job. And I started out working as an extra, and I was so excited every time I got an extra job, every time I would, get up at 4:00 in the morning and get on some freezing cold bus and drive out to some location and then sit there for some, airline commercial or something. Anything felt like a huge success to me at that time. And I think when I started when I was a teenager, so I think that, even then I thought, well, maybe I'll get to be in a commercial, or maybe I was just hungry for a start. And eventually, this is a little hard to create the little family tree, but my sister's ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend at that
That's
time,
complicated.
my sister's ex-boyfriend's girlfriend was working for Lorne Michaels, who created Saturday Night Live here. And and he was setting out to do a primetime sketch comedy show, and she asked me if I would like to audition. And I was thrilled. I was so excited. I couldn't even believe that I would have that opportunity. Excuse me. And so then I said, absolutely yes. I was 24. I think I was 24. And she said, okay, well, the audition is 6 minutes of original stand-up. And I had certainly never done stand-up comedy. I'd never thought about doing stand-up comedy. And here was this incredible opportunity and this assignment. And I panicked. And I locked myself in my bedroom and I cried. And I thought, oh my God, how do I do it? How do I do it? And I ended up writing my 6 minutes using, in large part, characters from my life, people that I knew. And although I did one crazy little sketch with Julia Childs, famous chef, and Jacques Cousteau, famous undersea educator. Anyway, I played them both having a conversation about sea bass. But anyway, I did some crazy things. I really did. I threw myself at it. What I had nothing to lose, or everything to lose, and I got the job. So that was my first big, legitimate show. And when it got canceled, 13, episodes in, I thought, well, now is my chance. I better get on an air. First of all, I better learn to drive. I'm a native New Yorker, so nobody drives. Well, not nobody
Nobody
drives.
drives in New York.
I didn't drive, so I thought, well, I need to learn how to drive, and then I need to get to California. So that is what I did. So I think I came here at first when I was 25, and then I stayed for a year. It's a long
The
story.
rest is history.
My God, there are so many chapters to this crazy story. But I went back to New York to do cartoons. And then, I'm sorry, I should say that on the day that the new show was the name of the show that I did with Lorne Michaels, the day that the new show was canceled, I was taken to dinner by some friends, and I met a director. I met an independent film director by the name of Henry Jaglom at the restaurant on that night. And at that point, I knew I was going to be moving to California for a bit. And he said, come see me. So I went to meet him. He was editing a film. Eventually, we agreed to make a film together. And we did that. We made a film called New Year's Day in New York City. And that is what brought me back to Los Angeles, because I went to back to New York to do the cartoons. I shot that movie with Henry. And then when it was ready, I came back to LA just temporarily to be here for the opening of the film. And I met my husband, and I ended up staying forever. And then, yes, the rest is history. But there's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of lean times and good times, and then these kind of crazy small miracles like Friends.
Yeah. Before we get into Friends, a little bit about the whole acting career, because most of the time you finish a job, and unless you got something else lined up, essentially you're unemployed. How do you kind of like get through those little spells, because it's
Well,
not
that's
easy,
a
like
good
you said.
question. It is not easy. I mean, I believe choosing the creative path is the wildest ride. It's not a straight road. And so you get on it and you strap in and you're like, okay, I'm on for the ride. I don't know what this is going to look like. And then you have to invent and reinvent. And I have done everything from, I painted T-shirts for special order at a children's store. I worked as an assistant to a choreographer for the Village People. I've done all kinds of crazy things to fill the spaces and to get by. And I've done quite a bit of teaching, and I also, if people look me up, they can often find that I'm a song leader, and I direct a choir. So for many years now, it's 40 years practically, I've been doing that work in between in the spaces, and it's work that's really, really important to me, really dear to me, and fills my soul. So I'm lucky that I have I have these parallel careers, and one of them is up to me. And I think that's the critical difference, is that I can take that work that I do anywhere at any time, whether it's into a university or a retreat center or someplace locally, and I don't have to ask anybody permission to do it. And show business is like a big game of Mother May I. I mean, I don't know if you play, I'm sure there's a version of Mother May I all over the world. May I take a baby step? Yes, you may. May I take a giant step? No, you may not. And, that's what it is. So I feel like the end result, when you get to make art, is so exciting that for those of us who are addicted to it, it's kind of you're just stuck there. You can't walk away. But at the same time, it's critical to have something that you have agency over.
That is very true. That's very true. Rather than someone telling you what to do, what time to be on set, or like what to wear, all of that, if you have something that you control, that's freedom, right?
Yeah, that's freedom. And then you don't go mad, and then you don't resent, the wait.
Oh yeah.
But I also think that I often say this to students, when I speak at schools to acting students, and they ask me these similar questions. But I also think that, there's something about show business and the fact that people get to say yes and they get to say no to you quite often. I mean, there are more no's than there are yeses, or we'd be working every day. That there's something that kind of advances your own human development, spiritual development, when you have to face that level of rejection all the time, because it forces you to ask some deeper questions about what your value is and as a human being, and how much does it depend on somebody else saying yes or no.
Is your self-worth determined by what other people tell you?
Yeah, and of course, anybody who enters into show business has a little bit of a self-worth, issue that we're all trying to work out. Please love me. Please tell me I'm good enough. Please tell me I can come to the party. Please tell me. So I feel like, yeah, okay, we get what we ask for, which is that the question very often is just going to be thrown right back at you, and then you have to go home and go, okay, what do I do with this now? What do I make of that thing that I thought I wanted that was going to change my life and I didn't get it?
Makes you go into reflection mode quite a bit. Churn around, maybe in bed, few sleepless nights.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But there's a great saying, and I use it a lot. I have two grown daughters now, 22 and 27, but and I used it with them all the time, all as they were growing, and still, and I hold it dear, and that is that rejection is protection and direction. And I just think that is true.
That's deep. That's something to reflect on.
It is. It's not always easy. It's not an easy pill to swallow sometimes, but I do think it's true. And when I look back, when I look back at my life, and I look back at some of that, there are a handful of things I wish I had gotten, that I was close, and it would have, and it changed the trajectory of the lives of the people who got the job. But then I look at my life, and I look at what happened in the spaces, and I look at what I was able to create in the absence of having that be my story. And I'm grateful.
Anybody who's been long, in show business long enough, I've found that they have thick skin, like reptilian thick skin.
Yeah.
I guess it comes as a result of all the rejection, I guess, but you learn to power through all of that, and essentially, like you said, that develops you both as a human being and spiritually. So hats off to all of you guys who are still, in the show business doing what you do. Yeah. So I want to talk about friends, but right before that, I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening wants to hear that particular catchphrase.
What do you mean? Oh my God. I don't know what you're talking about.
There we go. You heard it.
She lives in me. She's with me forever.
We got to do the rest of this podcast with you in character.
Just as Janice. You just want to talk to Janice? You can ask her some special questions.
What does she think about Bingaling and Bingaling being with Monica for so long?
Well, look, it's a great love. You never get over it.
How did this come about?
He'll always be my Bingaling in my heart.
It's so amazing that you still manage to make people crack up, even at the friends reunion. You hear that catchphrase, you know who's coming. You know what to expect.
So much fun. I mean, that moment I will never forget that.
What was it like reuniting with all these folks 20 years later?
It was beautiful, actually. It was one of those things where the reunion was promised, and it had several kind of potential iterations that ended up getting canceled because of various things, right? And not the least of which was COVID. And so it was going to be done this way, and then it was going to be done that way. And then when COVID hit, it was going to be done another way. And, it just, they kept saying, save this date. No, save that date. And when we finally settled on the date, it was finally going to happen. It was my first outing from, being at home. I was working from home like everybody, and I was on Zoom, every day, and
Yeah.
and connecting with a lot of people. But it was the first time I was going to be out in the world, and that's a heck of a way to leave the house. And it's quite an organization. I mean, somebody came to my house to give me a COVID test, and then I had to get another COVID test. And when you arrive, I arrive on the lot, and the place is crawling with people basically in hazmat suits, like everyone's in paper suits, and they're testing people in their cars. It was like, it was bizarre. And then, I'm met by a young PA who's got a mask and a face shield, and they're walking us through. So it was really like landing on another planet. But it was extraordinary. And, I knew that, of course, the setup was that I was going to come out as a surprise. But in my mind, I assumed that people in the know knew. I just figured everybody already had a list of at this hour, this surprise will happen, and at this hour, this surprise will happen. But it really wasn't like that.
Oh, they didn't know.
They were surprised, and that was extraordinary and wonderful. And the creators of the show were left to be surprised in the audience. They didn't know what was coming either.
Wow.
And I didn't know that until after I was already done, and I went down and sat with them, and I blew an upcoming surprise because I had seen it backstage. And one of the creators looked at me and he said, "Are you kidding? Like, that's about to happen?" And I thought, oh, I just assumed everybody, you all knew what was going on. Anyway, it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. It was so warm. They were so wonderful and welcoming. When you see the special, you see a moment of Jennifer getting up and hugging me, and Courtney and I leaning over and kissing, but everybody got up out of their chairs, and everybody came over.
Yeah.
And, David and Matt and Maddie and everybody, everyone moved and came over and hugged me and all the rest. It's not all there, but it was such a sweet reunion. It was fantastic. It was so much fun. And it was great to meet James Corden and hang out on the couch.
I cannot imagine what that must have been like. What a way to come out of the pandemic.
Yeah, no kidding. And then when it was over, the coach turned back into a pumpkin, and we all went home. It was like, okay, it was like a little dream sequence, and it was done. But at the end, after I was done, I wanted to go sit down in the main area because I knew that this crazy fashion show was coming. How did I know that? Because I had seen Cara Delevingne and Justin Bieber backstage dressed in, the Bo Peep and the potato costumes. And so I knew what was coming. And I said, oh, I really need to watch this. So I went down and I sat with Marta Kaufman and David Crane and Kevin Bright, and we, the creators of the show, and we got to watch all of that together, and it was just so much fun and amazing to see everybody again. And then from there, we went to the stage, and we hung around on the stage, and we, took pictures with each other and caught up with the people, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful night, and so very emotional and very sweet. And then, as I say, then I went home, went inside, closed the door, locked the door. Okay, I guess I'm going to be back inside for another few months.
Let's go back 30 years. How did Janice come about?
How did Janice come about? Well,
okay, let me rephrase that. How did Janice and her voice come about?
Yes. So I will say, I'm trying to get it chronologically, correct in my mind. I did this movie. I think this is a story worth telling. So I did this movie with Henry Jaglom, New Year's Day, and it did quite well as an independent film. And it represented the U.S. at the Venice Film Festival. And, it was wonderful. It was a great experience for me. And then an agent signed me, a new agent signed me. I was with them for that year. And then at the end of the year, they let me go. And I was from New York. I know I'd never had the experience of an agent letting me go. But this agency, which I didn't know when I signed with them, at the end of every year, they would kind of, flip through their client roster, and anybody who hadn't worked or made money, they got rid of. So I didn't know that one time with them. I wouldn't. What? It's brutal.
That's brutal. Yeah.
It's brutal. So I had no idea, and it hit me like just came out of left field. Anyway, at that time, I had this wonderful young manager working with me, And we just became like partners in crime. And for 6 months or more, we worked together to try to get me work. And it was, close but no cigar. It would happen, not happen, almost happen, not happen. And then at the end of that 6-month period, I booked an episode of Seinfeld, a great episode of Seinfeld that I was later told by Larry David is in the top 5 of their episodes, which makes me very proud. And I had the best time. And I remembered how much I loved making people laugh. And I remembered how much I loved working in comedy. And as a result of that episode, some people started to take notice. I got a new agent. And some people started kind of coming out of the woodwork and wanting to work with me. And out of that, a role was written for me. That had never happened before. A role was written for me on the very first season of the Ellen DeGeneres show, which was called These Friends of Mine. That was the very first season. And there were a lot of things that were tricky about that show behind the scenes. And I was very fortunate in that I was given the role. I auditioned many times, and we did chemistry reads and all kinds of things. But in the end, they gave me the part without my having to go to the network to be approved. So when things started getting a little shaky on that show, there were, the heads needed to roll, and mine was the first to go. So I was fired. And it was, again, brutal. I'd never been fired from anything. I'd never thought I would survive it. I never thought I'd leave the house again. I never thought I would work again. I was devastated. I wasn't the last to be fired. I was just the first to be fired. Many people were fired after me. And, everybody, Ellen is extraordinary. I absolutely adored working with her. I loved working on that. And of course, everyone knew it was going to be a massive success in all the different ways that they would retool it, and they retooled it more than once. But this was round 1 in the boxing ring, and I lost the first match. So then I had to kind of pick myself up and dust myself off and whatever, lick my wounds, all the different expressions for how you recover. And that is when the audition for Friends came across my desk. And it just said, Fast Talking New Yorker. That was the description. And then there was the scene with the Bullwinkle socks where she says, you can wear them however you want to wear them, mix and match, moose and squirrel, whatever you want. And I just heard her in my head. I grew up in New York City. As I said, I loved mimicking people, from my life and from the city. And so to me, all those women live in me. And I looked at the page, as I often do when I'm working as an actor, and I just heard her. I saw the rhythm in the writing, and that's who showed up. Now, at that point, when I think back on that time, I felt as if I had been thrown out of a plane with no parachute and survived. That's how being fired from that show felt, because everyone knew that show was going to be a huge success. Ellen is brilliant. No matter what, it was going to be huge. So it hurt. And at the same time, later on, I was like, thank God I got fired early. Thank God I didn't buy a new car, buy a new house, make it impossible to sustain my life. So that was good. That was the silver lining. Anyway, but I felt free, I guess, at that point as an actor, which is an ironic and maybe unexpected result of having something happen like being fired from a high-profile job.
Not many people would say that.
That's what happened to me, is that I thought, well, it already happened. The thing that you dread, the thing you fear, the thing you think you'll never recover from, it happened. So, and I'm still here. I'm still alive. And somebody wants me to audition. So, yeah, I'm free. Let's just do what I want to do. So that's what happened.
I went in and I did what I wanted to do. I played with the invisible socks in the audition. I said, mix and match, moose and squirrel, squirrel and moose, whatever you want.
And, I've told this story before, but it is true that as I was auditioning, I saw Marta and David and Kevin do this. They sat back in their chair like that, like they'd seen a ghost. And I thought, uh-oh, well, I guess it was fun for me, but maybe not for them, you know. Then they called me back and they had me do it again. And then I thought, oh, maybe they sat back because they recognized something. Maybe that's what happened. So anyway, that is how Janice came to be. And then I got on the set and I met Matthew Perry, and he was bloody hilarious. And his timing is just so good, and he's so funny. And I thought, uh-oh, he's going to make me laugh in the middle of a scene. Like, there's no way. This guy's going to crack me up. And of course I was nervous and I wanted to be good. I wanted to be serious in my comedy. Yeah. I didn't want to get fired. So I thought, if I crack up, if I lose it, well, because Matthew makes me laugh, I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm like a little schoolgirl, like, I don't want to get in trouble. So I devised the laugh so that I could cover if Matthew made me laugh.
So that was you really laughing, but no, you were covering it up with...
Well, I mean, I ended up using it in those moments. So the first time I used it is when, in that first episode that I was on, he's downing all of these espressos. He's on his 99th espresso. He's just knocking them back. And then he brings me the cappuccino or whatever he brings me in the massive cup. And then as I put it to my mouth, he says, "Do you want another one?" Or something to that effect. "Can I get you another one?" Whatever it is, whatever it was, the timing was so good. And that is when I looked at him and I went, "No, I just started this one," or what. I don't remember the line, but that was the first time that I used it.
That's hilarious.
Crazy journey. And as many people know, or some people perhaps don't, Janice was a one-off. It was one episode. That's it. I was just coming in as a guest star for one episode. And it turned into 10 years of glorious, amazing work.
Well, you went in there and nailed it. And I want to come back to something you mentioned, that in the audition, you said you were having fun. And that turned out, it snowballed into something that lasted a decade.
Yes, that's correct.
What have you learned from that? Because, I mean, it's so very often like, you are trying so hard at doing something, like impressing people, all that, and you're not really having fun, but something you do not for other people, but more so for yourself, that ends up lasting for far longer, having a longer effect. It has a longer shelf life.
Absolutely right, Akash. I mean, like, that is what you learn by stumbling and getting up and stumbling and getting up, right? Because there I was. I mean, I'd already been doing this for a long time, but I don't know that I'd ever given myself so much permission to follow my instinct. And I mean, I think I had in the past, and it had probably worked out for me before, but still, I think that I did have this driving need to impress people and want, as I say, can I come to the party? Am I good enough? Do you like me? And also just saying, okay, I see all this information on the page. They must be looking for someone like this. So how am I going to, put myself the round peg through the square hole or whatever it is, so that I can be the thing that they are looking for? And that can get in the way of being the best that you can be as an actor. That can get in the way of allowing your own uniqueness and your own unique take on something to be the thing you bring into the room, because you're so consumed with wanting to fit the brief. And you either do or you don't. So I think that there's great wisdom in accessing one's own uniqueness and doing something that is true to you. It worked for me many years earlier in the craziest way. And that is when I did The Parent Trap, the movie The Parent Trap, because there I was, I read the script, I read the audition, and it was this camp counselor. And she's the daughter of the woman who runs the camp. And I thought to myself, oh, they're never going to give this to me. They're going to want somebody with like short hair and who looks like she could climb 6 mountains. And, that was just my assumption. It's like, I know who this character looks like, and I know it's not me. but I really wanted a shot at it. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because I can't pretend to be that. I'll never, I'll never keep up with the people who can just walk in the door as that. So instead, I went all the way in this other crazy direction. I put my hair in these two silly, stupid braids. Long, like skinny little braids, and I wore a pair of overalls and a whistle, and I played her like this extreme with a very strong lisp, and like extremely strange girl who was like sort of stuck as about a 14-year-old, and she was just her mother's daughter, and she was just going to be at camp for her whole life because summer camp is everything. That's what I did. I played this goofy character that I created out of thin air as my version of this character. And the directors, Nancy Myers and Charles Shire, they were there. Oh no, I'm sorry. I auditioned for a casting director, and she was putting me on tape, right? And I walked in, I did the crazy thing in my crazy outfit, my crazy braids, and she said, I think I need to take you to the director. I think the directors need to see you. I think it was so weird. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, look what just happened. So then I went to meet the team, and I did the thing. And Charles leaned over to Nancy and he said, does she really talk like that? And she said, Charles, she's Janice on Friends. So anyway, there you go. And I did that crazy movie. And it was so much fun. And by the way, I wasn't allowed to play her exactly like that because it's a Disney movie, and they wanted to make sure that that nobody was offended, that people who are working with speech impediments or whatever, that I didn't offend anybody. So we lost the list in the final creation of the character. But anyway, that was just another day that I took a big risk.
Gotcha. It's crazy because I thought that was your real voice when I watched Friends, and my girlfriend told me that it wasn't, and I was like, wait, what?
A lot of people ask that.
And then for a long time, for a long time I didn't even want to check any of the interviews out or anything, because I wanted to be done with all 10 seasons and then get into the reunion and see what you actually sounded like. But since we were having this, I went back and checked it out, and I was like, oh, she does not sound like Janice.
No, I do not. Thank goodness for my friends and family.
But yeah, Maggie, we were talking about your music career. I think it's best if we kind of start from the beginning.
Yeah, so I will say that as a child, I was a New York kid, and many families kind of sent their kids away in the summer to get away from their children and to get their children out of the city. And so I was fortunate that I was sent to a summer camp in Vermont that was run by Pete Seeger's brother, and Pete Seeger is sort of the father of American folk music. And so I was surrounded by folk musicians, and we would sing around the campfire at night. And that experience really sort of formed me in many ways. And I felt very happy there. And I hated leaving at the end of the summer. I was gone for 2 months every summer, starting from the time I was 7, turning 8. And so I think that in many ways, I sought that out in my life, places where I could sing with other people, places where I could recover that feeling of being in community around music. And so eventually I became a longtime student of a woman named Izai Maria Barnwell, who sang bass for an a cappella ensemble called Sweet Honey in the Rock. And so that was a really another kind of formative experience. And then at the end of that, I took that knowledge and I took that that experience back out into the world. And I started leading people in song, first in New York City. And out of the group that I was leading, several of us stepped away and formed an a cappella group called Sons and Daughters. And then when my acting career took me out of New York and to Los Angeles, I left my singing family and my singing world. And I really was bereft. Like there was just something very critical kind of missing in my life. And it was when my husband and I were still dating he said, you should just, I mean, he's an artist, and he said, I'll talk to my gallerist, maybe she'll let you use the gallery some Sunday and you could just invite people to come. And I thought, oh my God, no, I'm not going to do that. That sounds crazy. But the more I thought about it and the more he encouraged me, and then she said, yes, you can have the space. And I thought, okay, it's all going that way. So I began, and this is now 30 years ago in Los Angeles, I began gathering people once a month in this gallery space. And it started out with 30 people, and eventually it was 80 people. And I would just lead song for those hours. And then when my kids were born, I stopped for a little while. My first daughter was born. I was just, being a mom and not getting a lot of sleep. And then when 9/11 happened, people reached out to me and said, we need to heal. The community needs healing. Please come sing. Please, can we do something here? Can we do something there? And so out of that, I started again. And I was very fortunate that the woman who I did my kind of prenatal yoga with, her name is Gurmukh Khalsa, she invited me to teach in her new space, which was a beautiful, beautiful studio in Los Angeles that used to be Frank Sinatra's rehearsal studio back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Big warehouse space, big vaulted ceilings, wooden seat. It was like being inside a big guitar. And I walked in there and I took one look at it and I thought, we have to sing here. So I started teaching some workshops there. And then I was very fortunate in that my kids were 10 and 6, I think, at that time. And I decided that I needed to take a mom break for the first time since they were born. And so I went away to see my teacher, to see Izai. She was teaching in Canada. And I spent a week there singing with her. And I met all of these extraordinary people from Canada. And I don't know why this phone is ringing when I've told my people that they can't talk to me and it's on airplane mode. Listen. So anyway, I met all these crazy, wonderful people in Canada, and they said, oh, you should come to Canada. The people who run our choir do this leadership training. It's called the Community Choir Leadership Training. You should come. And I thought, oh, I don't need to start a choir. That is not what I need to do. But before I left that week, this woman, her name was Gloria, she came up to me and she said, I would just like to say to you that I would like to tell you this quote by Balzac, and I'm gonna butcher the quote because I don't know it exactly, but this is what she said to me. This is what I remember her saying, is that for those who don't follow their soul's vocation, it just bleeds like the colors of paint for the rest of their lives. And those were the parting words that she shared with me as I got on the ferry and I got on the plane and I went back to New York, and I'm back to Los Angeles. I'm sorry. And I thought, God, maybe I need to go to Canada and do this training. And it was just like this little woodpecker that kept tapping at my head saying, if you're scared, you should do it. So I went to Canada and I did this. I left my kids for 2 weeks, which was radical. And I did this fabulous, beautiful thing that changed my life, met a lot of incredible people. And I realized that I could start a choir. It just had to be a choir according to my rules, which meant that everybody could come, that everybody was welcome. There was no sheet music. It's all taught in the oral tradition, that it's intergenerational, that kids could be there, that I would create an arts corner for them so that they didn't have to sing or nobody was telling them how to be, but they could be in the space while their adult people were creating music together. And that is something that I started 17 years ago. It's called the Golden Bridge Community Choir, or the Golden Bridge Choir. And it's been a huge part of my life. And I also travel and I teach my workshop, which is called Singing in the Stream. And so it's just, it's been, I teach at the Omega Institute in upstate New York during their family week every summer. I teach the adults. And anyway, it's really, it's just been this incredible blessing and through line in my life. It means a huge amount to me. And when the pandemic hit, I took my choir online, and then I started a public event called Together in Song, and I ran it every Saturday of 2020. And I invited other musicians to come and sing with people. And I reached 4,000 people all over the world. Wow. Came every weekend. The word spread. People found out about it. I had people from all over the world joining us. And it was an incredible thing. Incredible. So now, we're at this new doorway back. That we're considering the idea of being back in person with each other. And I just did my first live facilitation evening this past Tuesday. What's today? I don't even know.
Today's Friday.
Today's Friday. Tuesday night, I went out and I taught 50 people inside a space, and it was beautiful. And I'm going to North Carolina at the end of September to a place called the Art of Living Retreat Center with my friend Arne Batson, and we're teaching a workshop called Songs of Sustenance for the weekend, and it's all a cappella, and it's all call and response for everybody to learn. And yeah, so
That's amazing. Does this have a space online, maybe a website or something that people can check out?
Yes, goldenbridgechoir.com.
There we go. Link's gonna be in the description below for people who are watching on YouTube.
I write a lot of music for people to sing to. I write a lot of songs. So yeah, it's just it's the other half of my creative life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And we have a question here. Hi Maggie, we love Janice so much that we'd love to see more of her story. Assuming Martha and David give the green light for a Friends spin-off show based on Janice, would you still do it?
Yes, I would do it. I would definitely do it.
Where would you like to see Janice go?
I don't know. I think there's many avenues, but I think, Janice is extremely social, and I think she likes to help people, and she is very focused on love. And so I always imagined that she might have, a talk show or a podcast, or be or sort of be a relationship therapist, which I think would be quite funny. And then on the side, she would have a handbag company, leopard print and animal print, QVC kind of, online shopping.
And in the age of the internet, would she still be occasionally, I don't know, maybe stalking Chandler online?
Oh, stalking Chandler. Well, I don't think Janice ever stopped watching Chandler on Instagram and Facebook for sure. And maybe crying over her evening glass of wine with her current husband in the other room.
That'd be hilarious. It's another one. Is there any character throughout your career that you would say is most like you?
That's interesting. I've played some really funny characters. The movie that I made with Henry Jaglom, which is called New Year's Day, he works in a very autobiographical or biographical way. His process is extremely improvisational. So there is a storyline, but it's basically born out of a lot of people's truths and a lot of people's stories. And then it's expanded on so that there is, a nice healthy dose of fiction as well. So that character, Lucy, that I played in New Year's Day, is very close to me in many ways. And in some ways not.
It's all never autobiographical. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you create like a whole.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a real game changer for me to be able to play a character that was, in large part improvised, because as an actor, it put me in my body, it put me in my own language, it put me in my own, my own forms of expression in a story that had a complete arc. And that's not what you get to do, really. Often you get, I have a scene, or I've got two scenes, or whatever it is. So it was a real gift in that way, and it changed me as an actor for sure.
Definitely. Is there any skill that you've gained, on like a different walk of life that you've, I don't know, been working on through the rest of your life that has translated or transferred into a skill that has helped you out in acting?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I think that everything you do, sort of as a human being, whether it's navigating family dynamics, or it's navigating friendships, or losing love, or experiencing grief, or anything that is real in your life that takes you through something, either in joy or in hardship, is something that is going to enhance your ability to show up as an actor in an authentic way.
Yeah. essentially you go through life acquiring all these skills which you can then, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, you channel them later on during or like while you're prepping for performances, and then I guess like funnel that energy into whatever character you are emoting.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the thing, even in crazy kind of broad comedy situations like Janice, in
Mm.
Friends, I think one of the reasons people respond to her is because there are these authentic moments of that touch people. Like you see her humanity. You see that she
Yeah.
doesn't know what's going on, or you see that she's oblivious, or you see that she's in love, or you see, there are these moments that somehow through that broad character, there's still some authenticity and it's finding its way through. So I think that, yeah, it's just we're all students of human
Human
interaction,
behavior,
human
interaction,
behavior.
yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that Friends as a show has stood the test of time and still continues to go on reruns, and it's being watched by so many people, and so many people are rediscovering it, rewatching it. What do you think is behind that phenomenon? Is it the relatability? Is it the good comedy, the good writing, or it's like what?
I, I
I
think
know it's all of it.
it's all of those things. And I also think that, there is something about Friends. There is something about this lightning in a bottle chemistry that
Hmm.
they were able to create by casting it so perfectly. They
That's true.
just cast that show perfectly. And then, the beauty of casting a show perfectly and the beauty of having all those years to develop it is that you get, the writers get more and more specific and honed in on what makes an actor sing, what makes an actor shine. I mean, Matt LeBlanc's character is a perfect example. The way his character just kept developing and developing and developing in these incredible ways, and he just kept growing into it and growing it. So you just fall more and more in love with that character every season, and with all of them.
With
So I
everybody.
don't know. It's the brilliance of the writers. It's the sensitivity of the showrunners and the creators, and it's the casting and it's the chemistry.
Having been into as many auditions as you have, which I'm pretty sure is quite a lot, you kind of at this point maybe get some sort of an intuitive idea that this is what the casting agent's going for, or this is what the director is looking out for? Do you kind of have any idea, or I don't know, any
Akash,
sense of what they might be looking for?
if I had any idea, I'd be working a lot more than I do. So no, I don't. I believe that, I have no idea. Absolutely. And actually, it's none of my business. It's none of my business. All I can do is bring to it what I have to offer. And if
Mm,
that serves the greater good, if that serves the project, I'm going to get the job. Nothing else is even in the room. Everyone is nervous. Everyone wants something to be good. Everyone has a little, has the pressure
yeah.
behind them at every level of the thing, from the casting director to the director to the costumer to the. Everybody is nervous and everybody wants it to go well. So what, you know, my job is to bring something that will make somebody go, oh, okay, she's got it. We can check that off. We don't have to worry. She just came in and either showed us something we didn't know was there, or showed us exactly what we were looking for that we knew we wanted, or showed us exactly what we were looking for that we didn't know we wanted.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it. Because I know like so many people go into like a lot of things with their mind on, okay, what's this person expecting from me? But your answer, I think, kind of nails it right on the
Well,
head.
I mean, I am vulnerable to that kind of thinking, and I do get caught up in my head asking myself those questions, which are not particularly useful. I mean, yes, you want to serve the material. You don't want to just go, oh, well, she's a lawyer, but I'm going to come in a bathing suit and goggles. You want to serve the material,
Yeah.
but at the same time, um, I think our own unique qualities are the things that are going to show through. It's kind of I mean, everybody wants to be Meryl Streep. I mean, I'm not speaking for all men, but everybody wants to be seen as the ultimate chameleon. And I could play a lot of roles that I'll never get. I mean, I have the ability to do it and to transform, and I'm excellent with dialects, and I could do any number of things. But the fact is, there is a little bit of a lane. The industry looks at you and they see what they see. And I guess something that I would say is that, the reason Janice came into existence is because I stopped avoiding the lane. I feel like there were many, 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 many years before that, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to play her. I don't want to let anybody know that I can. I want people to understand my versatility. I want opportunities to play all kinds of people. I want to be taken seriously. I blah, 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 blah. But it was losing the Ellen DeGeneres job that liberated me to say, oh, it's the lane. I'm just going to get it. I'm going to get in the car and drive. I know how to do it. And that's what happened. So I think there is also great wisdom in going, okay, here, what's my lane? What's my lane that people are, that it's not the only thing that I can do, but it may be the only thing the people on the other side of the desk will see. Or maybe the only door they'll open. So, I've come to love that.
That's an interesting perspective because you have so many performers afraid of being typecast, but sometimes you have actors who are typecast as one character and they try something else and it doesn't always work out. It's like, okay, go back to what you did. That's how the audience also sees you after a while. And essentially what you're saying is stop trying to resist what you're good at.
That is exactly what I'm saying. Don't resist what you're good at. Use it, show it, have fun with it. It might be the thing that unlocks the gate. And people ask me a lot, were you worried about being typecast? Do you feel that you've been typecast? Do you think that people only see you as Janice? 10 phenomenal years of joyful work. Yeah, I don't, when I look at myself here, I can't figure out which side of my head is my head because I'm reversed. So I keep trying to fix my hair and I'm it's like this.
You've been mirrored.
So yeah. It's a fascinating little conundrum because we're actors. We want to do everything. We want you to be able to see that I could play the Queen of England, but am I going to get it? Nope.
I'd still love to see you do that with a Janice impression.
The Queen of England as Janice. Okay, well that's that somebody might let me do that. Janice could just have her own country.
There's going to be a lot of people who are going to watch that show. We have another question here. Did you talk about working with Neil Patrick Harris on an episode of How I Met Your Mother?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Neil Patrick Harris and I worked together first on Junkyard. And that was his first show where he played a 15-year-old doctor. And I was a fellow medical student and we were sort of punished. We were put together for 2 nights to be patients together. And they did things to us to make us uncomfortable. Like my glasses were covered in Vaseline, so I couldn't really see it. They wanted to teach us empathy. And so Doogie and I were in a room together. And I absolutely love him. He's amazing to work with. He's an incredible person. I got to work with him when he was just a young guy and we were both just starting out and, he was a little further along than I was because he was Doogie Howser. But anyway, I got to be on that show and I had the best time with him. So when I had the chance to do How I Met Your Mother, I was thrilled and I had a fabulous time, just incredible to reunite with him and celebrate his incredible success and to be a part of that. And the director directed me in Friends as well. So it was really a sort of a great reunion. And I loved it. I just loved working on that show. And I loved playing that awful real estate woman. And it was a very funny premise that, I sold them this apartment down by the sewage treatment plant where everything stinks. So anyway, I had a great time.
You've also done voiceover work, like voice acting, and I had no idea that you were on Silverhawks, because that was one of those cartoons that I enjoyed so much as a kid.
I
And to
love
realize you were on it, that was amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Here's what happened. I finished that television show that with Lorne Michaels. I came out to Los Angeles for a year, my first year, learned how to drive, came out to LA to pursue my career. And uh, and Rankin Bass, which is no longer, but was the animation company that did all of these Christmas specials that we grew up on in the U.S. I have no idea how far they've traveled, but the Island of the Misfit Toys and the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, all of these claymation animation, stop motion Christmas specials. That Rankin Bass is famous for those. And they reached out to Lorne Michaels, and they said they were looking for somebody for this superhero cartoon. And did he have anybody that he could recommend? And he gave them my audition tape from the new show, which was my 6 minutes of original stand-up where I did many voices. And they were interested in meeting me, but they wouldn't pay for me to come to New York. They were in New York. I was in Los Angeles at that time. They said, you'd have to fly yourself here to audition. And I was so excited. I got on a plane. I went back to New York. I auditioned for the job and I got it. And I played all the female characters in Silverhawks. And I played Steelheart and Melodia. So the good girl and the bad girl. And I played all the other female characters that came along. And I played a bunch of male characters as well. And it was the most fun. I mean, we would have table reads at the beginning of every week, and it was really a free-for-all. It was all men and me, and all of them. I mean, some of them were just icons in the animation world, and it was so exciting. And we would sit around and we would basically audition for the roles. If we had an idea, we'd throw it out. It was trial by fire. I was the youngest. Oh no, that's not true, because oh no, Seth Green was not in that. It's something else we did together. But anyway, I was the youngest and I was the only woman. And this new character would come up and we'd sit around a table and everybody would throw something out. And I had to be brave, to come up against these titans and say, yeah, I got an idea. Anyway, we just had the best time. And we made Silverhawks, and we made, 65. This first season was 65 episodes. It's a very good job. Most of the furniture I own today was paid for by that job.
No, really?
Yep. My couch, my dresser. Yep. Silverhawks. Dear to my heart. And then I went on and I did some more work for Rankin Bass, which I really, really enjoyed.
That's iconic, and I'm kind of surprised that they haven't decided to revive that franchise just yet, because I see a lot of potential in that one.
I hope they do. That would be so fun. I think they did revive Thundercats, which was...
Yes, they did.
Right? They did.
They did. They did.
Yeah. But I can't tell you how much I loved being on Silverhawks. It was the best job. Best job.
It's crazy. With regards to Friends, is there anything that you, I don't know, maybe accidentally borrowed that you permanently borrowed from set?
Oh, that's an interesting question, that I accidentally or permanently borrowed from the set. Yeah. Most of the things that I have, if not all, were given to me with permission. But I do have like a keychain that was in my bag in an early season. I know it's early because my eldest daughter is a babe. There's a picture of her. The props department said, "Give us a picture of your baby, and we'll put it in." So it's a really ugly keychain, but it's got a picture of my daughter in it. And I have a few pairs of pants. I don't fit into them anymore, but I do possess 2 fabulous pairs of pants, and they're in a box somewhere. I think that might be all I have from the set.
Your Janice pants.
My Janice pants, the gold pants I have. Yeah. I think that's the thing where that's the one where she says, "Call me when this goes in the pooper." I think that's wearing the gold pants. And I also have the green pants that I wore when I said, "Oh, buy me a vowel," because, oh my God.
It's crazy like how that character has evolved and been in and out of the main character's lives periodically. Like she dated Chandler, she dated Ross very briefly, and every single time she comes on, you know there's gonna be mayhem.
Yeah.
What was the most fun to you about uh, seeing your character develop very in brief pockets? Like you have maybe an episode or two every season to
Yeah.
show how what this character has been through, where she's going, and where how different her situation is from where she was the previous season. It's like compressing a lot of work in one.
It was such a gift, right? I mean, I never knew if I was coming back or not. So every time it happened, it was just like Christmas. They would call me, they would tell me, I would be so excited. And then I'd wait up at night. They'd drop the script outside my front door at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I would rush, I'd hear it hit the thing. I'd open the door, go sit down and find out what's she doing? Who is she now? Where is she now? So that was just the most incredible gift to be able to tell that story across the years. And tell me. Now I'm forgetting the complete question. But how did she develop?
No, yeah. What was it like compressing all a character's development to like 1 or 2 episodes per season?
Well, I guess the other thing you have to take into consideration is that all the time that has passed has also passed for the other characters in our real lives. So it's different. Let's say you're shooting something in 3 months, and every time you come to the set to shoot, you're in a new year.
Yeah.
Wasn't like that. In fact, I was in a new year. We were all in new years every time it happened. So I felt like there was a kind of organic quality to that development of the character and the movement of time that never felt inauthentic or hard to manage or anything. It was just like, okay, oh my gosh, this is where we are now. And I was just excited as an actor to kind of just say their words. They wrote me the funniest stuff. I got a chance to say some of the funniest things. I just think it was exciting. I don't know what more to say about it, except that, I was honored and thrilled to be part of this this continuing story. And I know that, sometimes they'd be sitting in the writer's room till the wee hours of the night trying to break a script and make it work. And they'd run into some kind of roadblock and they just weren't particularly happy or just wasn't particularly getting where they wanted to go. And somebody in the wee hours would say, Janice, and then all of a sudden it was like the linchpin. So, I'm very grateful for that.
Maggie, just want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This means a lot to myself and all the friends from over here in Sri Lanka. Could you, I know I see so many comments over there asking for that one famous Janice line again. And let me just combine it this way. Could you talk to the Sri Lankan fans as Janice?
I absolutely can. And I want to say,
oh my God, everyone. First of all, Akash, I want to thank you for having me on this show to talk about all things Janice. And to all of you out there who love the show and who love me, I want to say thank you very, very much. And I hope I've brought you quite a lot of laughter over the years. Very special laughter. And, just keep watching, keep listening. And I love you all.
And we love you too. Thank you so much. And this is Junkyard Theory, folks.